Good morning, everybody. Time to align on the high time frame, check on the health of our thesis, see if we're doing okay as far as how to manage on the high and the low time frame. Okay, and as always, I don't pre-script these. I'm just going to chart flip with you in real time, figure out how things look and how we should act on them, what we've done so far, so on and so forth. So to remind you, we actually caught this rally right off the lows at 6,400. We did that with a reclaim. Same reclaim we always do. Look at, we broke down the support and false breakdown of support. We reclaimed it as we reclaimed it once it became a resistance, re-held it as a support, broke out, and that's when we started our rally. This was the break of the downtrend. This was the flag that happened last week, right through here. And then we're wondering how high is too high, right? I can tell you a couple things. One, you should be selling leverage on your high time frame positions on the way up. You should not be holding everything for the entire move. There should be no scenario where we didn't top pick by 200 points and you give 50% of your profits of a rally back. That just means you're too leveraged. So the way I usually manage this is I sell into green as it goes higher and I deleverage as we go higher. But I do believe that we're in a local fifth wave, meaning the majority of the gains for this entire rally off 6,400, if you can believe it or not, now that we're trading 7,400, are probably going to come in the next week, where you can throw on another 50% of a win. So here's how I'm managing it, and I'm actually going to take you over to Bitcoin to talk about it. Weird, right? So in the room, I talked about here's how you need to get off a Bitcoin ad. So we had the back test right here. When it was asked, is this too low? No, it's okay. So the way a back test works is we wanted price to trade through this area. It traded through it, and now it's trying to set a higher low. You can recognize this exactly the same as what I just described to you on the SPX chart where we found the low at 6,400. It came up, it hit a resistance, it came back down, and it held a higher low, and then it pushed. Okay? So here's how to add to your Bitcoin and how to manage the Bitcoin trade that we're in, and I will bring this full circle to SPX. If you want to tighten up your stop loss from the 65 entry on Bitcoin, you can bring it up to here once a higher low is held right here. Okay, that means you want to see it push, you want to see a higher low, and then a push off. In that way, you can tighten your stop. Until that happens, we cannot assume that this is the low. We know that we filled the back test, but that does not mean that the back test is unsuccessful. It just means we need to wick around more. Okay, but as soon as we push through here and then set our higher low, you can either add a new position right here with a stop loss below here, or if you're in a high time frame position, the same one as before, you can tighten up your stop loss. That's how we're going to manage Bitcoin. And why talk about Bitcoin in terms of ES? I believe that Bitcoin is heading to about 125 to 130 next. I believe that we are going to hit an impulse leg. Remember, this is represented in the spread. That I believe is going to flag and then just send it straight up like this. Okay, so I believe that the next strong move of this rally is going to be in Bitcoin. And what I also know is SPX is not going to fade Bitcoin. So I think that I have a pretty good read on the Bitcoin chart right now. So I am not going to sell or completely get out of longs. And remember, I'm talking about trade longs, not high time frame longs. But I'm not going to do that until Bitcoin hits its targets. Then I'm going to start thinking about it. That doesn't mean the SPX rally will be in a straight line. I'm just saying that I don't believe one will fade the other. I believe Bitcoin is more strong. I believe I know the Bitcoin target. So I'm going to hold, in general, long in that direction until that target's going to be achieved. So right now, I am speculating, and this is the same plan that I put forth. I'm speculating that the highs could be around here. Maybe even a little bit higher, 78. We could even push it, run hot to like 8,000. I don't really know what the highs are, and I'm not concerned because we've gone far enough. And people will note that this rally is overheating. There is no such thing as overheating. Things can overheat as long as they want. There's no such thing, okay? There's no such thing as here, I'll put it in a technical term. I don't love RSI. I don't really like any indicators. I just like price and time. But I'll tell you, I do use RSI sometimes to pick up on divergences. Now, divergences don't work unless you use price action like false breakouts, false breakdowns, reclaims, higher lows, higher highs, things like that. That's the only way to express a divergence. But if you look at a pure divergence, and you're seeing that a rally is running hot and the RSI is blowing out to the upside, that's not a bearish indication. Things in uptrends, RSI always blows out to the upside, and the worst thing that you can do is close too early when the majority of your wave structure, the 5 out of 5, the fastest, most furious part of the rally is at the top. That said, with a lot of these individual stocks, we have been deleveraging because we need to be exposed to being wrong. We cannot call the exact top, right? So we deleverage here, but we expect a move higher regardless. Okay, maybe it doesn't have to be on Monday. This is about price, not time, right? So expect here, but it doesn't matter if it's like this. You know, I don't really know. The idea though is we get this move higher. So that's going to be what's going to happen. I'm going to use SPX rather in Bitcoin in conjunction. I want Bitcoin to hit its targets. I want to see how far SPX goes. Then I want to look at the ratios between how gold is doing, how SPY is doing, how all of our individual tickers are doing, and then I'm going to reassess the situation. So I'm not going to be able to tell you in advance how high is too high, but I will know a day or two prior when things start looking like we actually do need to hedge, and that's what I'm going to have you be aware of. Unfortunately, the accuracy is going to only improve once we see more information. Now, something we can do is we can note where all of our swing lows are, right? Like we know this is our local low, and we know that I am wrong about this upside direct if this local low breaks. So if this breaks right here, and this is part of the bear plan that we already published, like say it comes down at open and flags, this means nothing to the bull case. But instead, say it comes down here and it bounces and then it fails, we know that we are very likely to go into a more elongated flag that might even come a little bit lower. This is not bearish. Just means we need to flag more. We do not get bearish until we fail the back test of our breakout all the way down here. You note that I'm a long only trader in uptrends. It's not because I can't short. I definitely can. In fact, I'm going to set up a short soon with OXY. The reason is because the long is so much more forgiving, and the way I like to trade is accumulate shares in the direction of trends. So being net short all the time doesn't serve those goals. Instead, I'm selling covered calls on some of the positions. So let's talk about those. Actually, before we go into positions, let's talk about some other things, maybe the star of the show here. Bitcoin dominance. We looked at, actually talked about recently that I thought this was the high for Bitcoin dominance, and boom, right straight down right from there. Is the high in right here? I don't know for certain. What we need to see is not only the first move down, this is like shots fired for the bears, but what we need to see is the move up and then one more lower high and then a break of the current low. Then we will truly know we're in a downtrend. But I think that the star of this situation is Jasmy right now. We were looking at accumulating alts recently for people who weren't in, and if Bitcoin dominance well and truly is top, Jasmy is going to be a great recipient. Remember, I'm in 2 altcoins. I'm in Jasmy and CRV, but I like Jasmy better. And what I'm going to do is I have allocations in both. Jasmy stronger, and when Jasmy hits its targets, I'm going to dump all of that stuff into CRV. I don't have, I'm not chart flipping alts. I'm not an alt person. This is about 2% of my portfolio. If these run hard, they're going to be much more, but I'm never going to add to them. What I will, however, do is I will move in between them like I am doing RIOT and Mara. I found 2 charts I like, not based on projects. I have zero idea about fundamentals. I found them because I think that they're good to play off of each other. The same thing I prefer RIOT and Mara for. I think that they complement each other in that sort of way. So I like alts not as I'm going to go all in on alts, but as I want to hold on to them just in case I'm right. And if I'm wrong, no, it is what it is. Okay. I do like Jasmy short term though, and seeing it break the downtrend right here as Bitcoin dominance put in the high that I thought I'd put in is a good sign. Now, I just trade alts on Coinbase, okay? Just vanilla Coinbase. I don't have access to all the crazy alts. I'm not really interested in like all the like Solana alts and all that. I just don't care. I just want exposure to 2 alts if I'm right about alt season, and I pick the charts I like the best, and that's Jasmy and CRV, but Jasmy more than CRV in the short term. And we're going to dump Jasmy into CRV in the longer term. But first, Jasmy And if I'm right, it should be a big move up. I'm not going to cover targets. I never do. But instead, as we get closer to where we should be going, I'm going to analyze all the markets in like conjunction, all the bonds and stuff like that, see if we are flashing warning signs, and then I'm going to look for resistance around where those warning signs are, right? So I'm going to be able to be decently accurate about the top, but I need to see more price. That's what I'm always saying. I need to see more price as it gets close. It's not because I don't think it's fun to high mark targets and tell you what's going to happen well in advance. I have my theories about where things are going. But instead of doing that right now, I'm just going to keep people on the right side of the trade execution-wise, which I think is a more valuable skill regardless. Let's go down. The rest of the theory, DXY, I think is coming down. I think this is supported well in the chart. We initially saw this high. I think this is a distributive high. I think the next time we go down, we should be hitting upper 89s before we get a bounce. We will look at it with a correction in the stock market somewhere around DXY 89, I think. So this lends to the theory that we have more upside in the stock market and in Bitcoin in general. I'm not in a hurry to sell right here. But I am aware, right? I'm aware that if things are to go sideways, what they look like, what I can't do is if I see a big bounce in DXY, I can't overreact to that, right? I can't say, oh my God, DXY is bouncing and SPY is correcting the tops in. What we are around here, if anything, is not top callers. We're always going to stay in the direction of trend, and we're going to use warning signs that are 100% chart based to get in or out of trend like moves. Anyway, RIOT. Going down the list, the plan for RIOT is the same as it's been. We trimmed off right here. This was a great trade. The first entry was around $11 down here. Second entry was around 16. Both of them, while not bottom tick, were within maybe 5 or 10 cents. You are not always going to get that lucky with accuracy, but since we've been killing it lately, enjoy. I would like to see a pop out of RIOT, but I am not anticipating riding this pop with leverage. I'm already deleveraged completely out of RIOT. Instead, I'm looking to sell covered calls up there. And that's about it. That's my plan for RIOT. Mara, I want to average up into. Now, Mara's earnings are Monday. I told you what the plan is in my last video, so you can watch that. But basically, I'm going to DCA into Mara with 3 bullets based on RIOT profits. Also know I've held Mara for multiple years. Okay, and I've been trading in and out of this for multiple years. The last sell was around $23. The last buy was around $12. So we're right around the cost basis of the last buy, but it was financed by the profit take anyway, right? So my average for Mara is way down because I've been playing it for so long. It's got to be around $7 right now, and I just want to add to the Mara stack. Again, I'm not going to call targets out, but I will tell you where we're going. The other reason is I just don't like to fuck up the option chain with bad retail decisions because I know people buy out of the money weeklies, and I just don't want them. It's not like a protective thing. It's not like I'm protecting you from blowing up. It's also, it's not altruistic. It's also self. I don't want you to mess up my play either by telling a bunch of people to jack up the option chain in a certain direction. So I will keep you on the right side of trend, but I'm not going to advise you on how to leverage, right? Other than to say where the dip buys are, which is what we've done so far. And if you want to do leverage, that's fine, but I'm not going to help leverage on breakout trades. Instead, I'm going to say hold as much as you can in direction of trend. And when we get to where we're going, I'll let you know based on how the spreads look. AMD is doing kind of like what I said the other day. We are popping. I did buy one AMD degenerate call on Friday, which is hilarious. It ended up being like 1,000-something bagger, but I spent like $15 on it. It was just for fun because I was pretty sure that AMD was going to go higher, but you can never be certain if you nailed the day right? So in a video or two ago, I mentioned these are the type of plays degenerates want to get involved in. Now, just because I think AMD is going to stop and consolidate kind of like this, and that doesn't mean I don't believe the generalized market's going to go up or down. I just don't know, right? I don't know. I got to see what happens with Bitcoin because you got to see right here in this ratio, Bitcoin can way outrun Bitcoin right now, 200 to, this means for every dollar ES related tickers go, Bitcoin goes 2, right? So the idea here is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if, shoot, I just lost, where is it? Thank you. It doesn't matter that AMD tops out here and forms a big range because that's why we're getting out of semi-type stuff, and now not out permanently. That's why we're getting out of semi-type trades on the short term, and we're starting to add to things like coin because coin has crypto exposure. So we want to be in the basket of things that have like the 2-to-1 ratio, if I'm reading the charts correctly, which I think I am. Okay. Let's see what's happening with coin. Haven't looked at this in a while, but I can say that we picked the low on coin just about perfectly. I don't recall exactly what the low is, but I guarantee we ticked it within 5 cents, and that is in the legacy channel if you want to check it out. I thought that was a particularly great play, but I'm gonna be honest, we like. As like a whole, we've been killing it, and I anticipate doing that as well. I bought calls on OXY right before close, just like I alerted and said I was. Why did I buy calls? What could possibly inspire me to buy calls here? I'll show you. If I'm going to buy calls, I'm going to buy them next to the swing low, because I know if the swing low breaks, I'm wrong, right? So here's my risk to reward right here. If I buy calls right here, I am great. And if this breaks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch this break. I'm going to watch it relief bounce and back test the breakdown right here. And I'm going to sell my calls 5% into profit instead of 100% plus into profit. Do you see how that works? I am willing to ride my calls back down and then back up again because I know we're right above support. And this is how to make money being wrong. And if I'm right and we bounce right from where this is, right, and we never break the swing low, I'm going to take about 200% on my calls right around here, and then I'm going to wait for right here to position for a short. So I don't know where my alert went, but I will add it again right now. This is our OXY short, so we want to short around 62 to 64 area. And why? Because I don't anticipate, if my read on the structure is right, that this high is going to break. So I can be a relatively tight stop, and then I am going to target down here. Again, this OXY play is something I've been playing up and down, and I'm going to continue to do so. We took this entire trend leg. I took this short right here. You probably remember this from the channel where the puts went 200% overnight. And then what I'm doing is I'm staying flat during the bullshit. I took cheeky calls because I think I can position well, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the real move, which is the short. Now, if this short just goes down without me, I missed my entry, and I'll just have to suck it up, but I don't think that's going to happen. I took a recent long in Meta. The long is right here, right? So if you want to save for long, you need to wait for it to close over 630s, and then after it's above 630s, you can set a stop loss below here, and you can get long in Meta. But if you're in a knife catch right here, you have it built in that your risk reward is solid. That we shouldn't break this low if this plays works, right? We shouldn't break this low. And if we do break this low, what you're going to do is you're going to sell your calls on the relief bounce. So this is the benefit of positioning things like OXY and Meta the way I'm positioning for them, is we can be wrong and still make money. And if we're right, we make a lot of money, okay? NUE, still in NUE, we're riding this trend all the way up, and I'm happy with what it's doing. I'm going to take a low profit up here, okay? This trend has gone pretty hot, and this is wrong. I don't know what I'm thinking sometimes. I start charting on mobile and things look like crap. But I'm going to take my trend up to like 268. I'm going to trim a little bit off, and I'm going to look for a rebuy somewhere around 225, and then I'm going to hit another leg of this exact same trend. Okay, so again, I'm going to try to position based on what I see Bitcoin and ES doing. See what Netflix looks like. I still think that we can get a relief bounce. I think this is a little high, but what I would like to see is a relief bounce. I want to short Netflix. So if we get where the market looks toppy, and then Netflix looks like it's bear flagging, I'm gonna look for a short, okay? But not yet. It's just sitting on the watch list. Same thing with Palantir. I think Palantir is going to capitulate, but I don't have a read on this pattern. I don't want to short this at all. I want to look for a long later. Okay, MSTR is the exact same chart as Bitcoin. If I'm right about the Bitcoin move, MSTR should just go straight up from here. And I'm positioned as such. My ad from MSTR was pretty good, but that's because I added when Bitcoin was 64K, so it should be, right? Oracle I'm saving in my basket. I'm going to short that later in the year. Now, this is just a passion project because I hate Oracle and I hate Larry Ellison. But it's going to make me feel good that when the generalized market goes down, I'm going to have a little piece of his downfall. And yeah, great. NVDA. I am hedging AMD, but I'm not hedging NVIDIA. I'm holding NVIDIA long term. I do believe that NVIDIA is going to offer a re-entry, but I am just going to hold through this anyway. That means it could go here here, maybe even a little higher. Eventually we are coming down for a correction, and when this correction happens, I will add to NVIDIA. I don't know exactly what the structure is going to be, but I'll figure it out. In fact, I will leave this right here right now. This is just a bullshit structure. I'm just making it up as I go, just from like some lizard structures I've seen in the past, but it's not going to look like this. But when eventually it comes down to a re-add, if we're running hot, I might hedge NVIDIA, but I have no plan on doing that right now. And that's kind of where we're at. I took GME off my charts, but I'm still holding GME. It's a garbage trade. I will hold it forever. Not forever. I've been holding it for months because my goal is to take it off at 67. It will impulse eventually when the market decides to, but the amount of drama that happens in this range is variable. I don't have a way of telling you. I think it'll be interesting because when the market gets frothy, people will start looking at GME because that's what retail does. They love GME, but I'll tell you, this is not the best upside. I can see this chart structure, so I wanted a little piece of it just because, you know, a layup 3-bagger is nice, especially in shares if I don't need leverage, so I can just hold while it goes sideways. But I have no affinity towards this stock. I'm not somebody who made a bunch of money off GME or has some sort of cult-like status. I just like when this chart, and when it's time to go, I want to be a part of that. I think that kind of rounds us up on the high time frame and how to play everything. We will see. I really want Bitcoin to lead the way, and if I'm right, it's going to happen. I don't know how fast it will happen. Maybe it's now. Wouldn't that be nice, right? I have the instructions for you guys in the channel on how to actually add to a Bitcoin long successfully without having to gamble. I would take note of that, because the whole goal of this is, if I'm right, you get into positions, you have to find stop losses, you have to find take profits, we move money around. Remember, our goal is to move money around in such a way that you're not always going all in on leverage and trying to double up your account every day. Instead, I'm trying to get you into like a really what I'm doing is considered a very aggressive form of investing. I'm stock picking, and I'm moving money around rapidly between sectors in order to accumulate shares. But at the end of the day, my goal is to accumulate shares, because I believe if we're on the right side of the blow off the top, it will change your life. Well, at least it's going to change mine. If you're not blowing yourself up in the meantime, you might be able to hitch a ride on my wagon. But know that I've been on this path for, I don't know, since I started writing Substack at least 3.5 years ago, and people have been with me this whole time. But even before that, I've been talking about this since the correction in 2020. Like, you can find my public posts about this going back almost 10 years now. Like, this is not a new thing. Instead, I just decided to bring along as many of my friends as I possibly could. Okay, so if I'm right, it's going to be great, and if I'm wrong, we're going to protect ourselves on the way up, so we have a hell of a run, and we stop out, and we sideline when we need to. I'm not going to predict the top, but I will be able to keep you on the right side of the trade for as long as possible. We are not worried about a rug pull right now, and we are going to continue pushing the upside as long as the chart tells me I can. Take it easy, guys, and we will talk to you on Monday.